I'm Lin-Manuel Miranda, and you're listening to Hard Knock Life.
Well, it's the NOC in full color, you see me? The Hard Knock Life, comics, movies, and TV, yeah. Pop culture.
Welcome to Hard Knock Life. I am Keith Chow.
I'm Britney Monet.
I'm Daylight Savings Time. No, sorry, I'm Dominic.
We have a special guest host with us this week. She is a writer extraordinaire, podcaster. Her book, hold on, what's the name of the book? Her book, Spider-Man Social Dilemma, comes out in July. She's also part of the Women of Marvel that's out in comic book stores right now. She is one half of the Daisy Geek Girls right here on the Hard Knock Media podcast family. Please welcome back to Hard Knock Life, Preeti Chhibber.
Hi.
I had to make sure I didn't want to get it wrong. You have so many books is the problem.
It was a really nice moment when you looked back over your shoulder to physically check the name of her physical book, as opposed to looking it up, on the
It's a bit of a humble brag because I'm cool enough to have the book on my shelf, even though it doesn't come out until July. So it's sitting right there. I did that on purpose because I wanted to shed light on the fact that the book is back there. And also that Preeti has too many goddamn books. And it's hard to keep track.
Listen, it's that freelance life. You're afraid to say no to things. So every project that comes into my inbox, I'm like, yep, I'll do it.
And then you realize when you have like deadlines like smashing into each other and you're like, what have I gotten myself into?
It's a lot of apologizing.
Welcome back to the show. It's been a while. I think the last time you were here, we were talking about Spider-Man. So it's just like, you were living in Peter Parker's head. What is that like to actually be inside Peter Parker's head? But here you are.
There's that like TikTok trend going around where it's like, who's your celebrity twin? And it just flashes like half your face turns into the celebrity's face to tell you who it is. And I got Tom Holland. And I was like, that is a white man. But then I was like, oh, that filter.
You both have youthful energy.
And the AI like saw into my soul, which is terrifying. But you know what? It's for the meme. Go
there
for
you go.
it.
What better marketing than I am actually Spider-Man? So
I know. Surprise.
Well, welcome. We are here to talk about not Spider-Man because No Way Home, I'm sure everyone's talked that movie to death by now. But there's a lot of things to talk about. I want to jump into the other comic book universe for a while. We spoke a lot about Batman for the last couple weeks. It's now topping $400 million worldwide. Certified hit. Biggest movie in the world. And to celebrate, Warner Brothers and DC Films was like, let's shuffle all of our DC-related movies, even though we just released a teaser attached to the Batman on 5,000 screens nationwide and in the front of the Super Bowl, in which we announced all of these movies are coming out in 2022. And guess what? Now they're not. So it is the weirdest thing. I don't understand what's happening. So just for those of you who aren't following, Warner Brothers announced the Super Pets movie, which was supposed to come out in May, is now coming out in July. And the movie that was going to come out in July was Black Adam, which is now moving to October. And The Flash was supposed to come out in November. Now that's coming out in June of 2023. And Aquaman was supposed to come out in December, is now coming out. I don't even know when it's coming out sometime in 2023. But on top of that, a movie slated for 2023, Shazam, is now coming out in December of 2022. So we can speculate. And that we're going to speculate. That's why we have a podcast about why that is. But I just think it's just a reminder that no matter what happens, DC will find a way to fuck everything up.
Yeah.
What if
as much as I'm rooting for them.
No, what if it's just to like make everything better?
Well, yeah, sure.
It could be for artistic reasons, but it's also so strange. Again, why did they not have to put out that super promo showing bits of the 4 different movies? No one was really asking for it specifically. We knew there was going to be another Batman trailer of some kind, but they didn't have to put out that super promo and push it so hard in front of every Batman screening. And
the Super Bowl.
Right. So definitely something.
Like, the Super Bowl is not a cheap place to put your movie ad,
And then they're like, oh, no, those are all pushed back. So something happened in the last week. We just got to say something happened the last week that they didn't know about it like 3 weeks ago.
Well, to Preeti's point, there is rumor that, and I think James Wan has come out and said, I don't know if it's a rumor, but James Wan has said, I'm not going to be able to finish this movie by December. Like, Aquaman is 95% animated, at this point. And, I kind of blame... Sorry, I'm going to put you on blast, Preeti. When Sonic trailer came out a couple years ago...
No.
That set the precedent. So if you recall... There was a Sonic the Hedgehog trailer, and Preeti led the charge.
Untrue. I was one of many, many, many voices
that said the CGI sucks, essentially. And so they went back to the drawing board.
No,
and then Sonic has a mouth.
Just the teeth. His teeth were too human.
And Sonic went back to the drawing board, and the animators worked 27-hour days.
Listen, I vote normalize postponing the movie.
Yeah.
Give people more time to do the thing that they want to do. If that's the case, go to town. But tell us, I guess.
And I think this is the thing, right? Is no one communicating in the Warner Brothers corporate office? Does production not talk to marketing? Because I think, to me, this is a marketing fuck up. This isn't a movie making fuck up, because I think you're all right. If it's to make the movie better, I don't need to see the Flash tomorrow. I want to see a good Flash movie. Although again, it does the dominoes of, does this mean Batgirl is going to be delayed because it's going to be weird as shit as Michael Keaton shows up in Batgirl and then he doesn't get introduced into the universe until the Flash. Anyway, but at the same time, to Dominic's point, why the fuck did we get this trailer then?
Don't they book those super long in advance though?
Usually.
Right? I feel like that would be something that was booked a year ago, right? And now if something happened more recently, it's do you eat the cost or do you still use it as a marketing moment?
Yeah. It's just so funny to me that literally a day after $124 million worth of people were seeing this ad, we get the... I just think it's just, again, DC can't help but step on their own
Yeah,
cape.
and okay, right, stepping back for a second, we remember that Batman is DC's sure thing, right? Spider-Man is basically Marvel's sure thing as a movie. We know it's gonna do hundreds of millions of box office. None of the other characters in the DC stable are sure things yet. So they always, their superhero wing has always been Batman centric.
At least since 1989.
So they have this Batman movie, and right, basically. So it's just a weird look again that they got the Batman out successfully, and it's a successful piece of art and box office success. And then they're like, oh no, you can't see these other 3 movies yet. Are we really looking forward to the Black Adam movie? Where there's, who's super looking forward to that?
I mean, I'm
Aquaman
sure there
movie?
are people. I was looking forward to the Black Adam movie, and even the Flash movie. These movies have been in development for as long as I've been alive. I feel like, The Rock was announced as Black Adam.
I think I was in 2nd grade and I was reading Variety.
I was 8 years old when The Rock came out and said, I'm going to be Black Adam. So, I mean, and now to just have that delayed even further, The Flash is a movie that's gone through the ringer 7 or 8 times.
Do you feel, though, I feel like if nothing else, what the last 2 years has done is, put us all in the state of, maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't. Who knows? It might happen, it might not. If it does, grace of God.
Yeah,
true.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like perhaps
Flexible expectations.
This is me being post COVID. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like, hey, we're all out of COVID now. Let's have these movies. And this is maybe reality hitting me in the face, saying, put your mask back on. God damn it. So, Brittany, are you disappointed? Because I know you were looking forward to all of these when we were talking about the DC Films trailer a couple weeks ago.
Well, I'm glad Shazam is being moved up because, as we all know, those are my babies. But I'm kind of I don't know. Do people actually see Avatar? That's my thing. I'm I never liked. I know everyone's talking about that. I never liked the first one. Well, first I thought it was gonna be the other movie, and it wasn't. And then
Last Airbender. You thought it would be a Last Airbender movie when it was announced?
Yeah. And then I was like, okay. And then they're like, it wasn't. And then it was, the other Avatar movie was terrible. So I hate both of those Avatar movies.
Yeah.
And anyways, though, I was just like, who wants to see a sequel? I never hear people talking about James Cameron Avatar, like, in a way that makes me feel like those movies holds any, like, value still.
Avatar holds weird place in pop culture because I don't know anyone that's in the fandom. It doesn't even have a fandom.
It's because I remember seeing it in the theater, and there was nothing else like it. Granted, we walked out of the theater and we're like, that was Fern Gully, but okay. But like, there was literally nothing else like it. It was this amazing, incredible thing that no one had done before. I agree with you, Brittany. It's like, I don't know what the fandom is over a decade later between movies.
Like, no one goes to see 3D movies anymore either, right? Like, it came out in a time when 3D was like this big thing.
Yeah.
I think every movie theater, especially who's going to put 3D glasses on after COVID? You know what I'm saying?
Ew.
Right?
Ew, you're right. Oh,
They don't even make 3D TVs anymore. You know what I mean? Like, 3D is a movie-going technology that I think is just fallen off the face of the earth. So again, that was to me the big appeal of Avatar. It was this like totally immersive film going experience, but it was also something that was like, it doesn't make me want to see the next one, you know? And yeah.
And we're talking about this because now Avatar is coming out next to Shazam 2.
Shazam, right. Oh, and David Sandberg like cheekily tweeted like, I guess I'm going up against Avatar now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously saying Shazam.
So. Well, yeah. And the thing is that, like, if James Wan was like, I can't finish this movie by December, what makes David Sandberg think, like, I mean, unless it's finished.
It must be further along, right?
Yeah. Or maybe, and it doesn't have as many VFX as, like, Aquaman, they're CGI dude's hair. So, like, I guess there's, like, way more going into it. But I just, I like shitting on DC because I love DC so much. And it just feels like another one of those things where they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory.
No, you're right. It's almost nostalgic to that day that there was going to be a Cyborg movie and the Flash movie was going to come out next year. Remember that day?
Okay,
that was a day that happened in history.
Question.
Yeah.
So I've not seen the new Batman. I'm waiting because I don't want to go into a theater right now here. But do you think that because people were really kind of nervous about the Batman. You said it's a sure thing, but I think Robert Pattinson being cast was like it was like you love it or you hate it, right?
Sure.
I don't think they knew how that was going to go. They didn't know if it was going to be like the right Batman movie that would hit on what they want, or are they going to get a Batman versus Superman, right? So like, do you think that as a result of this mass like success of this film that they were like, oh, now we need to reconsider how we're putting out the DC slate because it actually matters more because this could be a building block for us?
I think so.
That might be
because he
true.
wasn't supposed to connect to the movies, but now they're like, Robert Pattinson's actually amazing. I mean, I've always known that, but like now it's just like, I think the people who didn't follow his like career post Twilight don't know that like, no, he can act. He's really good. So I feel like that's changed a lot of people's perspective, and maybe like they're like, let's do more Reeves Batman stuff because they greenlit the Arkham show, and they're making it more like focused on Arkham villains and not like some Gotham PD thing. And now they're doing the Penguin show. So I think I feel like right now Reeves is going to be leading the DC movies.
And also, okay, this is just speculating, but because the Batman was so well received for its artistic filmmaking successes, it's kind of like they could be stepping back from the whole interconnected universe thing, which is all the other movies. Maybe they had a different like artistic viewpoint on that now. Like, oh, maybe we're overdoing it on the Easter eggs and we should make something that's like,
make something good first before it has to be connect and be like connective tissue.
Yeah, maybe they've had a whole aspect change on the thing, which it's possible. But I don't know if that was where your question was. What topic was leading. But
the other thing about like the surefireness of a Batman movie, I think you're right. It's like they usually are surefire. Like if you think back to the '89 Batman movie, and then the Nolan movies, and of course this one is a surefire hit. But similarly, Batman movies can also be box office bombs. No offense, Brittany, but Batman and Robin bomb. Killed the franchise for a while before the Nolan movies. Even Batman Returns was considered a bomb, and that's why they had to reboot it with Val Kilmer. The Snyder movies were the exception, right? These were movies that were not well received, and that's why they had to go back to the drawing board. Not with just Batman as a character, but the whole DC movie experiment. And you know, and the other thing that's kind of like part for the course for Batman movies is fanboys shitting on whoever's being cast in a Batman movie, because like, had the internet existed in 1988, we talk about this all the time, Michael Keaton would have been just as shat on as Pattinson. I mean, we saw the Heath Ledger, you know, freak out when he was cast. Even Ben Affleck, you know, like the jokes that came out of the Ben Affleck casting. So I think Robert Pattinson fits very neatly into like Batman legacy as someone who laughs about like being cast and then proves everybody wrong. And
That's the Batman who laughs.
Literally the Batman who laughs.
There we
Batman
go.
comics lately?
There we go. No, I'm there.
So let's, you know, speaking of superhero properties that may or may not connect to a larger universe, the other news that we didn't get to talk about last week because we spent the whole time spoilery discussion about the Batman was something I'm sure everyone on this podcast is very interested to talk about, and that's the Netflix shows finding a home, not on Hulu, that we all suspected. We all thought the place that Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, The Defenders, and our friends would go would be Hulu, but it turns out they're going to Disney Plus. And Disney Plus now is going to have a adult tier or a TV mature tier to house them. And the parent like resource council is like freaking out about it because they're like, nudity and violence on Disney.
Oh my god.
Like Tipper Gore came back. What?
But there's gonna be parent controls, so
Yeah.
like just use the parent controls if that's what you're worried about. And then I mean, most of the Marvel movies are punching and people die, so it's not like kids aren't being exposed to, you know, more like mature storylines just because now you're adding, you know, sex or whatever to it. I don't know.
Yeah, I know that their content is more mature and a little bit more but is it? Well, I know they were also TVMA on Netflix, but were they drastically? I can't
Yes,
recall.
no, they are. Jessica
yes.
Jones
Can we
is
just
Okay, I'm just
like-
making sure.
you know, the premise of Jessica Jones is
Sure, right,
far
right.
darker, I
Like
think.
Purple
than-
Man is
the
not a
Purple Man
Disney
is
villain.
No, he's not a Disney villain. But it makes sense. Like, if Disney is gonna buy up all these properties, if they're gonna buy up all these like studios, they have content under the Disney banner that is not Disney. So like,
Right.
what are they gonna do?
And you know, the rest of the world has quote unquote Disney Star, which was the
Right.
where they house all the Hulu stuff because I don't
Right.
think Hulu necessarily exists in the rest of the world. So it's not like they didn't have an outlet for it. But what I think is really interesting is now, and alongside all of the Marvel content that you already find on Disney, you can see the Netflix shows. And also Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Let's not leave out Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That got
Agents of
ported
S.H.I.E.L.D. was
over.
already on there, though. It was in the legacy section, but I don't know if it's moving into a different...
Oh, so why was
section.
all the news like bundling the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. moving?
I think because
with
it was
Netflix?
still on Netflix.
Oh,
Because it was
I
still
see.
on Netflix, but it was on Disney Plus. I remember seeing it on Disney Plus in the legacy section along
Yeah.
with Agent Carter, so...
You know, speaking of like deals that must have been made like years ago, it's really wild to me that when I see movies that are simultaneously streaming on Disney Plus and HBO
Yeah.
Max,
Yes.
because it's like
Yes.
Free Guys on both, West Side
Yes.
Stories on both, and I think it's because you know there was an existing deal between Fox and HBO Max, perhaps, but I don't know. It was
You know
weird.
what's glaring though now is the only thing missing from Disney is freaking Spider-Man.
Weird,
Like,
right?
I know why, but like just make
Yeah.
the deal. Just make the deal.
And is it because Sony has an exclusive with Netflix, right?
No,
Or
it's on.
somewhere.
Isn't it on like Stars or something?
Stars.
I feel like
Stars, yeah,
it's on
maybe
something
that's what-
random that nobody has, and it's so annoying.
Sorry, Outlander fans. I know you all have the Stars
I
app.
have the Stars channel. Look, I like those power shows.
There you
I
go,
love
Power's
those
on
power
Stars. There
shows.
you go.
Those
Oh
are
right,
so
I forgot
great.
that was on Stars.
And Redman is very attractive, so...
Stars is a random ass channel though. Let's
It
not.
really is, because it's like Outlander, and then you got like the Power... now they call it the Power Universe since they have all the spin-offs, and then like you have...
and
you
the
know,
Spider-Man movies.
And the Spider-Man, because even Outlander's on like Netflix, right? Not
Yeah, I think
current
so.
season, obviously,
so.
but it
Right,
goes to Netflix because they're like, people are gonna watch this on Netflix.
Don't get me started on like some of the ridiculousness of stream. And you know, let me get me started. I'm gonna hop on my HBO Max soapbox for a second.
Oh no, not Warner Plus again.
To me, one of the appealing things about HBO Max was that it's similar to Disney Plus. It was a place where Warner Brothers could have all of their various brands. And one of those brands is CNN. And, you know, I don't give a shit about like, you know, Don Lemon or Chris Cuomo or whatever, but I do love CNN's documentaries, which were on HBO Max, like the Anthony Bourdain shows and Lisa Ling's shows. Those are now being removed from HBO Max because CNN wants their own streaming service.
Oh my God.
Called CNN Plus. Yes, exactly. So now they're removing...
We're just at like cable again.
Exactly. They're
sucks.
removing United Shades of America, the W. Kamau Bell show. They're removing Parts Unknown, which I love.
Blows.
To make me fucking stream CNN Plus. Who
No.
the fuck is streaming CNN
No
on
one.
an app? Nobody.
Nobody wants that.
Put it back on HBO Max, goddammit. And again, change the name of HBO Max because that's what's confusing, right? People are like, I don't go to HBO to watch CNN. Right, because you should call it like Warner Max. But anyway, that's my soapbox.
But to the earlier point, do they have to rename it Disney Plus Max now because they'll have to do that extra bit of parent filtering? Which I imagine you parents have been practicing on HBO Max for kids who want to watch the DC stuff. You must have been practicing that, how to
Or like
get them...
Sesame Street.
Get them away from the Cinemax skin flicks and towards the
Like-
towards the DC animated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they have, like, parent controls on Netflix, too. So it's like, you have to have been using parent controls on, like, if you have any of the other, like, streaming services. There's no way you weren't. Or Paramount Plus.
The problem wasn't necessarily like how parents use it. I think it's just like Disney has a brand,
It's
right?
the branding.
And there's things that are branded Disney are supposed to be wholesome and family friendly. And because Disney's always had their like tendrils in other studios. Touchstone, for example, back in the day was where they released all their quote unquote adult focused, not adult like pornography, but like adult leaning content. And now, you know, it was never, those kinds of movies were never released under the Disney brand. And I think this is where we're just blending. This is what happens when Disney buys up every other studio, is that you're going to have especially the Fox library, you're going to have situations where you're not going to be able to everyone knows it's a Disney thing. That's the thing, right? Like whether it's Star Wars, whether it's Pixar, whether it's Marvel, at the end of the day, everyone knows this is a Disney property. So I think the kind of like illusion of this isn't really Disney, this is Touchstone, doesn't exist anymore. So they might as well just... The only difference now is like, I don't know why Hulu is necessary. Because
Well,
I thought...
are they going to put... The question is, remember when Love Victor dropped and Disney was like, oh, actually, this can't be on Disney Plus because of, quote, adult situations, which are like underage drinking. They pointed all these reasons that it couldn't go on Disney. And then they put that on Hulu. Is that coming back over...
Well, that's my
Disney?
like. I feel like Hulu now is redundant. If you're able to put mature content on Disney Plus,
Exactly.
then why not port Atlanta over to Disney Plus? Why not port?
Well, okay. I would argue. I would argue. I think it's an extreme case just to get all the Marvel stuff integrated, and it's a trade-off that they have to do. It's not just because they want to have adult content. It's because, and I wanted to voice. I think it's a wonderful thing because I was worried about it for a while because those Netflix shows, most of them, are in my opinion the best written, wonderful TV that Marvel's made. Daredevil and Jessica Jones particularly. I was worried, they're just going to be erased. And I was really worried they were going to, like, redo them with the actors, but in a kind of Disney-ish way. It's like, because those series were really accomplishments. So, yeah, it's a trade-off.
Which is still a possibility, because Charlie Cox, I think, was at a convention in Abu Dhabi or somewhere saying that he's willing to do a more, quote-unquote, MCU-friendly version of Daredevil, especially since he's in the universe now, and that all the Netflix stuff is just a multiversal variant, and he can, like, basically the Charlie Cox that we see in No Way Home and the Vincent D'Onofrio that we see in Hawkeye are not the ones from the Netflix shows.
That's not, is that 100% confirmed? Or is
that's
that
that's what Charlie Cox thinks.
I think because, well, Vincent D'Onofrio said he was told to treat his Kingpin as the same guy, that pretty much is the same guy. However, they could have had different, like how Infinity War with the Stones, there could still be like a slight different branch off from what it's kind of being implied. So it's like maybe somewhat as a core it's like the same Kingpin, but they just might have had a different experience with,
I mean, and at the end of the day,
Infinity.
like, the whole beauty of introducing the multiversal concept into your cinematic universe is that you don't have to be so slavish to the continuity anymore, right? So you can, like, imagine like the Netflix shows and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. used to do, that they've always been part of the MCU, right? Or if you need to make a story change in universe, you can say, oh, those things didn't happen. The Game of Thrones guy, he was never Danny Rand. Like, that could be something that you can now do.
Well, that would be a useful application. but I'm making a distinction here. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., yes, is inconsistent with everything. The other Netflix Defenders shows, they're not inconsistent with Marvel Universe.
No.
They're
not
heroes doing other shit in other parts of the city. That's what
and
was kind of awesome.
They were like thoughtful about it too. They do reference the cinematic universe. Remember that first season of Daredevil, right? It's like those references happen. Like, they were thoughtful about how they were introducing this and allowing it to exist alongside the MCU without being impacted by the MCU.
And it's hilarious in Jessica Jones when she's going on in the first season about laser eyes and blah, blah, blah. She's like an observer to this cosmic level shit happening. And I love that stuff. But again, yes, the story of, sexual violence in Jessica Jones is way too much for the regular Disney brand. So I'm glad they made this accommodation because it's an important story. Right.
But that's where I kind of I think the branding, Disney is in the position of having to shift their branding because it's now then, if they're pulling the Netflix shows in, it's now arbitrary as to why they would put something like Love, Victor out. Right? It doesn't make sense, and it's frustrating as a viewer when you're like, you said you can't put Love, Victor on here because there's underage drinking and teens are partying, but you can have Jessica Jones. Is like that, then it feels like completely arbitrary that you're pushing one over there and one here because of a branding issue.
Or if because of a don't say gay in Florida, we're not going to actually come out against issue, right? I think that's the dirty little secret about Love, Victor.
I mean, but there is gay people or lesbians on Jessica Jones, so
right. So I mean, I think ultimately it's
and
just
in the
subjective.
Eternals.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just feel like it's more of like what Keith is trying to say, that it's just they want the MCU stuff, and they know that there are people who have grown up watching the MCU who are now like in their early 20s, so they can't just say that the MCU is just for children. And they probably did not want to hold back with doing Moon Knight, especially I'm pretty sure Oscar Isaac fought for harder stuff since he didn't get what he wanted with Star Wars. So I feel like that's what it is, because Moon Knight is coming out 2 weeks after they have the stuff available, so they're like, and then Deadpool,
Right.
And I remember I called it about Deadpool after seeing Free Guy.
Britney called that Moon Knight would probably be mature. And we don't know for sure, but I think the timing is suspect, where you're allowing the mature Netflix stuff and then Moon Knight comes out at the same time, which looks to be a brutal show, more brutal than the previous Disney shows, which were pretty damn brutal. I mean, John Walker decapitating dude with a Captain America shield is fucked up. But you have Moon Knight coming
still
out
in a Disney way, I argue.
But still in a Disney way.
That's for another day.
I mean, honestly though, the fact that they showed blood on the shield was a step further than I expected. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the Falcon Winter Soldier. You also called Sean Levy, the director of Free Guy, taking over Deadpool, and we also got news this week. Deadpool is Deadpool 3 with Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy, and again on the heels of the TVMA Disney Plus story, maybe they can make an MCU Deadpool and still keep it rated R.
Yeah,
I think they'll have to.
Yeah, when I saw Free Guy, I was like, this is the perfect team for MCU Deadpool, and then it's happening. So, and I feel like they said they were going to keep Deadpool still rated R, so I just feel like, they're going to find a way to.
And, I think Blade is sitting there too now.
Yeah.
Now we don't necessarily need a PG-13 Blade. So I think it does.
I don't think we were going to get a PG-13.
Well, I mean, but
Blade.
we would if they were going to keep the. I'm saying they opened the door now. We can definitely get a non-PG-13 Blade.
Wait, one more Disney Plus technical rating thing. Did they not show Logan on Disney Plus?
No.
They never had Logan on
Logan's
Disney Plus?
not there. It can be now, I guess, but it's not there.
They had all the
They
X-Men
pulled the
movies.
X movies. Are the other X-Men movies on Disney Plus now?
They're still there. They're there as like a legacy, or like
outside
the X-Men universe or something like that, until Doctor Strange comes out.
Strange.
Yep.
Then it'll be all one MMU, the Marvel Multiverse, or the MCM. I don't know. I don't know my acronyms.
No, it's okay.
Guess what? Goalie Nutrition is sponsoring Hard Knock Life, and you can go to goalie.com to buy apple cider vinegar gummies, their ashwagandha gummies, superfruit gummies, and super greens gummies. And you get 10% off plus free shipping if you use the code HARDKNOCK at goalie.com. This is honestly, I've been taking the goalie gummies now for a couple weeks, and I have to say, they're tasty and they're good for you. Have you guys been enjoying the goalie gummies?
I really like them. They're yummy, but it's a nice to add to my like routine of already like I normally take just straight vitamin C, so it's nice to have like extra supplements.
For a long time, people have praised the benefits of apple cider vinegar. And, you know, as someone who's had to like drink straight apple cider vinegar sometimes when I'm not feeling well, or, you know, I have some joint pain and your mom was like, drink some apple cider vinegar. It's not the most appetizing home remedy, let's just say.
No,
Right.
it tastes horrible.
Like the apple cider part is like, ooh, does it taste like apple cider? And it's like, no, it tastes like vinegar. But ACV is very good for you. And the fact that Goalie has been able to put the ACV into these tasty little gummies made with pectin and fruit peels, which make them vegan, which is cool. So if you're vegan, you can still rock these gummies, because everyone knows gummies are usually made out of like gelatin and nasty shit. These are made out of complete non-GMO, gelatin-free, gluten-free, vegan ingredients, and you can get the benefits, all of the benefits of apple cider vinegar, taking these tasty, delicious, convenient gummies. So go to goalie.com and use the code HARDKNOCK, that's HARDNOC, just like the podcast you're listening to. Get 10% off your purchase of Goalie products and free shipping.
It's a much better delivery device for that apple cider vinegar.
Yeah.
These Goalie gummies are great. You get
I
it, and
agree
it's a
100.
delicious little candy. And I've been enjoying the Super Fruits one. I did feel kind of refreshed after taking a few of those.
Yeah, no, but I'm loving them so far, and they're definitely tasty. If you just want tasty gummies, at least just eat them for the yumminess.
Yeah. So go to goalie.com, use the code HARDKNOCK, HARDNOC, get 10% off your purchase and free shipping at goalie.com with the code HARDKNOCK. Speaking of Disney Plus, we are here to talk about one thing and one thing only. We were just stalling to get to this point. A little trailer dropped this week, bringing us back to the era of the prequels. It starts with Duel of the Fates, goddammit.
Great theme.
We finally get to see some first-hand footage of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Preeti, I am glad you're here, because you guys did a Days to Geek Girls episode right before the trailer dropped. You guys just talked about the Entertainment Weekly.
I was so
stills.
mad. We like recorded that morning when the EW stills dropped, and then like literally 3 hours later they posted the trailer.
So I want to get your first thoughts, since you were unable to talk about the moving pictures of Obi-Wan Kenobi and just the stills. What was your first impression of the Obi-Wan trailer?
It looks awesome, right? It looks... I had my frustrations with Boba Fett that I think a lot of people had for various reasons or whatever. There was a lot I liked about it, don't get me wrong, but this trailer looked so lived in and so much like everybody involved was so excited to be there, and you can tell there was a real care for the story with someone like Obi-Wan, who like we have so much of what happens in Obi-Wan's life. Like, I'm so excited to get to see Ewan come back and live in this character at this age. Like, it's so thrilling for me. And of course, bringing in like the Inquisitors, so we get stuff from like Jedi Fallen Order and Rebels, and pulling that stuff into it is really exciting, because I think that's some of the best Star Wars storytelling that's been happening. Like, I don't know, I think it looks great.
Brittany, as our other resident Star Wars aficionado, what was your first impression of the trailer?
I was at work on my lunch break, and I was like, "This is the trailer," and I kind of screamed in the back room. And watched the trailer. Very exciting. I'm glad that Moses Ingram is not in like makeup and stuff, and she also has like braids. Like, oh, she looks so cool. And the steal of her like bringing out her lightsaber. I kind of. I fangirled a lot. It's just, I'm very excited. And then you hear Vader's breathing at the end. Like, you know me, I love Hayden Christensen. So I'm just very excited. And this all comes out on my birthday. Like, it's just, I'm a Star Wars birthday
Literally
baby.
a Star Wars baby.
Oh.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yes. Yeah.
The dates of the original.
May the 25th be with you.
May the
Yes.
25th. Right on.
Yeah. So I'm just everything about Star Wars is just, me and Star Wars are meant to be. So I'm just very excited.
One thing Preeti and I kind of bumped on, we were texting each other when the trailer dropped, is that it does seem that like all the people of color on the show are bad guys. Is that because Indira Varma plays an Imperial officer?
Yes.
And I think we deduced Sung Kang is one of the Inquisitors. I think. I'm not sure. I think
Sung
Screen
Kang is
Rant.
Inquisitor?
I think he's the
Fifth
one
brother
that-
or something with the helmet.
yeah.
But that's
green.
according to Screen Rant. I don't know if that's necessarily confirmed. I'm a little disappointed because I always wanted Sung Kang in every movie he's in playing Han, and what better franchise than Star Wars than be
Same.
playing a character named Han? But perhaps he's playing an Inquisitor. But you know, I mean, it's not that big a deal. People of color can be bad guys too, as long as they're like interesting. But it's just a little weird that they're like literally all bad guys.
Can you help me out with some Star Wars universe stuff? I honestly didn't recognize a bunch of characters. Is one of those dudes Thrawn?
Not
No.
Thrawn. He's the Grand Inquisitor. And I did want to talk about, like, Star Wars fandom is great. I love being part of the fandom. But there is definitely an element of Star Wars fandom that is obnoxious. And that
What?
element
Don't take
are
it
the
personally.
ones who take it... Well, yeah, it's Preeti. Preeti, I'm here to call you out. First, Sonic, and now you're leading the petition to redo the Grand Inquisitor. Have you seen... There's literally a change.org petition that they need to go
Seriously?
back and redo the Grand Inquisitor. Because
Just-
you do see
no.
a character who's got, like, gray skin and, like, red marks on his eyes. He is a
Yeah.
character called the Grand Inquisitor who was in Star Wars Rebels. And I forget the name of the race he is in the universe. But apparently, he doesn't look like what they want him to look. These are the same folks who were pissed off about Cad Bane in Boba
Who looked
Fett.
awesome.
Who was
By
awesome.
the
Yeah,
way,
I thought Cad Bane looked great too.
So yeah, there is an element of
we don't
of
give
Star
that
Wars
air.
fandom.
Don't give it air, man. Like, we don't need it. Who cares? It's not going to do anything. It doesn't need any attention. Like, that's what. No. It's
Yeah.
absurd.
I just meant I literally didn't know the characters you guys were talking about that were.
I
I was like,
together in
I'm
the
so
show.
sorry for writing the petition.
How dare you?
Yeah.
He didn't.
No,
you're subtly saying he
So
did not
sorry.
look like what you wanted him to look like. Yeah, sorry. I get
Yeah.
it.
I just think that they cast the best actor in the role, and unfortunately, the cast an actor doesn't have as thin of a face as I think the Inquisitor is
And it's a
supposed to have.
cartoon. Like my
Yeah,
thing
like-
about the Clone Wars and
like-
Rebels, as much as I love it, it's very stylized
Yes.
animation.
Yes.
You know who also doesn't look like those characters? Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen. Like, they do not look like their Clone Wars counterpart, because the Clone Wars counterparts have very square faces.
Forget that. Clone Wars Anakin looks different from Rebels Anakin, and it's
Right.
fine because I will say, in terms of our thing that we stumbled upon, possibly, we don't know who Kumail's in Obi-Wan. Kumail Nanjiani's
Yeah, and he's
in
not-
Obi-Wan.
he's not
And
in the
he's
trailer.
not in the
He's not in the
trailer,
trailer.
and we don't
Yeah.
know who he's playing. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think we know.
So, looking forward to seeing Kumail show up.
I still am pushing, if Deborah Chow, you're listening to this podcast, for a stunt casting of Nicole Kidman in a flashback scene as Satine. Because, you know, they love exploring
know.
Mandalore
Yeah,
in this
do it.
generation,
Do
in,
it.
in this franchise. We need a Ewan McGregor, Nicole Kidman Elephant
I
Love
will
Medley sequel.
Lose my
Oh.
mind.
Very
Goodness
funny
gracious.
that you say that, because the day the trailer came out at work, after I watched it, came back from my lunch break, I was on the floor and we just updated our playlist for work, and one of it is a Show Tunes playlist, and I was like, guys, is that Obi-Wan Kenobi singing? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I think that's Ewan McGregor.
It was
Ewan
Come What
McGregor
May,
singing.
wasn't
Was it Come What
It
May?
was the other one. It was
Your song?
I don't know.
Your song?
Yes, yeah. And I was like,
So this is the
So it
Moulin
was-
Rouge
Yep.
portion of the podcast.
Let's
yeah,
do
so
it.
So
it
just
was
for me and
that.
Preeti.
Obi's favorite songs.
Yeah,
No,
so
I
that
mean,
was funny.
because Dave Filoni was clearly referencing Moulin Rouge when he named the character Satine. I mean,
Yes.
you have to come full circle,
Like,
and
let's
bring
have it happen.
Nicole Kidman in the flashback. Come on, do it, do it.
Like, Ewan,
my-
just
in my Shiv
call
Palpatine.
Nicole. Just call Nicole. Ask
Do
her
it.
for a favor.
You just need a flashback when they made out on Mandalore or whatever, because you know they did.
on.
You know
We
they
deserve
did.
this.
I could think they.
And he dies in her arms. Come on. The saddest thing you'll ever know.
I mean, part of this story is that Obi-Wan is there spending a lot of time on Tatooine,
Like,
right?
thinking
There's a
back
lot,
over his life.
There's a lot of years
Yes.
to fill. I think I could get a lot
You
of
need
stories
the
that he was
flashback.
basically growing old and depressed about the Empire winning.
I mean, we didn't touch on, like, Ewan. We do actually hear Ewan as Obi-Wan at the beginning. And just in the, 2 lines he has, there's so much, pain and pathos in the, we lost. You
I
know,
can't
in his,
handle it.
Yeah.
I hope it's a melancholy. I know that Preeti, you said you're encouraged by the Inquisitors, and I think it's going to be fun and exciting. You can't have Star Wars without fun and excitement. But I'm more looking forward to like the reflective, Obi-Wan over the canyon, looking at Luke Skywalker, making sure he's okay. That's what I'm looking forward to more so than even like lightsaber battles, which we know we're getting with Hayden and.
But it's
and
the
Ewan,
perfect pairing, right? Look at the Obi-Wan in the Twin Sons of Tatooine, the Rebels, which is one of the best storytelling moments that show has. The perfection of Obi-Wan is that you get both. You get the reflection and you get like a kick-ass like lightsaber duel. Like sorry, I'm so greedy. I want
Give me
it all
of it.
Yeah. And it'll just be really nice to see Ewan McGregor again. Because just on the acting level, I like to reflect on how, those prequel movies, which are highly debatable, we've debated them here before, but his performance was always the best combination of homage and actual, like, interior emotional idea. He got both of those things going at once, and it was beautiful. I mean, it held up so many parts of those prequels. I think, as you say, he's older now, in like the age appropriate time for this,
He might be near like Alec Guinness's age when Alec Guinness was in.
He's 10 years young, 10 or 12 or something like that years younger than Alec Guinness, and
because people aged rough in the 70s. Because everyone makes the joke like, how did they go from Ewan McGregor to Alec? But like Alec Guinness really wasn't that old. In 1977.
I'm just gonna blame it on the sun.
It's a desert, right?
Right, like
It just gets to a point where
Tamir Morrison, Joe
Edgerton.
Edgerton, they all they just age harshly.
They didn't have de-aging technology.
There's also
Let's
that. There's also
go
that.
back to no one needs to age ever again in movies.
Well, they literally don't now. Now we can AI them like we did Luke Skywalker. Final thoughts on the Obi-Wan trailer before we move on? Or are you just chomping at the bit? Are you disappointed we didn't get to see Darth Vader? We just heard Darth Vader. You're able to wait.
I
you
just
have the willpower.
know that there's gonna be flashbacks, because I know that from what Ewan said, that there was a day when they were on set and it was just me and Hayden, and it just felt like nothing had changed between the
we're getting flashbacks of them as Jedi?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because Ewan says there was a day on set where I looked at him and he just, and he has his Anakin get up and he said he just looks the same, and it's been like, 20 years, and he's like it. So yeah, we're definitely getting a flashbacks, probably to some Clone Wars stuff maybe, and then I feel like we are gonna get like a Darth Vader Obi-Wan, because remember the last time that Obi-Wan was with Padme, she said, I know they're still good at him, and he probably, if they cross paths, he's gonna assume that there is still good in him and they're gonna fight, and he's gonna realize that he's not, because there is that line later on that he says that he's more machine
now than man.
Yeah, so I feel like he is gonna lose his faith in him, and
Oh God.
Yeah, we never see it. He gives it another try that we've never seen before, probably.
yes,
and
then people forget, like 10 years is still a long time to go without seeing someone.
Yeah.
So he's probably gonna officially fake his death at the end of Obi-Wan, and Vader's gonna go on thinking that.
Well, and I love how it recontextualizes Vader's line from A New Hope, where he says, "I haven't felt since," and he kind of trails off. And you all these years thought he meant on Mustafar, but haven't felt since that time we had a fight on Tatooine a couple years ago. Like it now completely recontextualizes that.
And again, just
10 years is still a long time. Just to...
And then the last we met, I was the learner, but now I am the master. Like it's still. He's referencing a different fight. It's like for the last 15 years, I thought he was referencing the Mustafar fight. And no, there's going to be another one.
It could be another one.
Could be another one. Well, I think they confirmed it, right? Because when they released at like D23 or whatever, like Disney Investor Call, the concept art that they released from Obi-Wan was
yeah.
Obi-Wan and Vader, right? Which was like...
Oh my God, I'm so stressed out about it. I'm going to be so sad.
I also want to say, just again, the time period, this is supposed to be Darth Vader in his prime, right? In his prime evil period, which we've covered somewhat in the animated series and also in Rogue One a little bit. But
and in the comics, like Greg Pak's Vader comics have been like really building this characterization of Vader that is complex and interesting and evil, but also he walks the line really, really well.
Okay.
I think.
All right. Well, yes, and thank you for shout out to Greg Pak. But so I'm not saying he has to be like monolithically evil, but he's in some sort of
He has goals.
Sith Prime part of his arc, and that should be interesting to see.
Do you think James Earl Jones is coming back for the voice? I know this is like a trivial part of the show, and it doesn't ultimately matter, but it would be interesting if they just modify or modulate Hayden's voice when he's Vader.
I feel like it would
Sort of
be...
mouthful.
I feel like it would have to be James Earl Jones unless that, because we saw it was used in Revenge of the Sith, so we know he does have that modulation of his voice. So I would assume it's James, unless...
Or someone who can sound like James.
You're right. I was going to say, I mean, like, God bless James Earl Jones, but the man is 100 years old now, and...
Did they use him for Rebels?
I think so.
I can't
Rebels,
remember.
I don't know. Rebels, I don't know. Rebels might have been
if it was
a sound-alike.
It might have been a sound-alike.
Well, because I was going to say, like, at this point, you know... And not that I don't want James Earl... I mean, it's kind of, you know, John Williams is coming back at 100 years old to do the music for this. So, like, it's not... I'm not trying to be ageist, but I do feel like... I just, you know, James Earl Jones can rest. Because the amount of dialogue that he would have to record if there's going to be a significant Vader presence on the show, I just don't know if it'll hold up. Because even in Rogue One, like, Vader sounded older... Because, again, James Earl Jones is 100 years old.
But Rebels worked. The Ahsoka Vader scene is
Yeah. But that's why I'm not sure. That's why I'm not sure that was actually James Earl Jones. But I could be wrong. If we are, please let us know in the comments. I'm sure you will.
I think they can just do the thing they did with Luke, too. Just piece it together from
That's
bits.
true.
Digital editing's magical.
Well, that's the thing I want to avoid, honestly.
It would be weird, but it depends on how much you want him to say.
I want to avoid the AI software if deep faking James Earl Jones' voice if possible. But I mean, we've crossed that Rubicon now, so who knows? But yeah, we are very excited. May cannot get here soon enough, and that is the only Star Wars content we're getting for some time after. The Andor show doesn't have a start date.
Those come out in the fall, I'm assuming. I don't know, but what's his name already said that they're gonna start filming. He's doing Dune 2. And then he's going to be doing Cassian season 2. So I'm like, they're already getting season 2 and season 1 isn't out yet. So I don't know.
But we don't know about Mandalorian season 3 or 4 now because Boba Fett was Mandalorian season 3. And Ahsoka, like those are the shows that are coming. We just don't know when they're coming. So like Obi-Wan is the only thing at least on the horizon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there's the High Republic books in between.
That's right.
True.
Speaking of books, Preeti, I want to give you some time here at the end to talk about your many projects that we were hinting at earlier. As I said, Spider-Man's Social Dilemma is sitting on my shelf currently. I have not read it because it literally came in the mail today, so I'm looking forward to reading it. Can you tell us what that's about and what you got going on in addition to Spider-Man's Social Dilemma?
Sure. So I guess first, because it's most recent, is Women of Marvel #1 came out this week. It's like an anthology with a bunch of different creators and a bunch of different artists. I wrote the Black Cat short. I am so excited. I got to write Felicia Hardy because she's freaking awesome. And then, next is Spider-Man's Social Dilemma, which is an original novel that comes out this summer in July. It's YA. Peter Parker is 16. He's been Spider-Man for just a short while, and it's like part, adventure, part rom-com because he's crushing on MJ. It's really cute. I love it a lot, and it is the first in a trilogy, which is very exciting.
This isn't MCU Spider-Man, because I know you did Ned and Pete's journal.
Yeah, no, this is wholly original, its own continuity. Like, the bad guy is Sandman in this one, and maybe something else, I don't know, secrets. But yeah, it's completely original. It's not based on anything. It's its own thing. It's, I guess, if you're looking at anything, which it's not connected to, aside from, like, tone, is, like, the Spidey series that came out a few years ago from Marvel, which was, like, sort of rebooting, putting Peter back in high school, giving him a whole new, like, set of adventures. Robbie Thompson, I believe, was the writer on it. But no, it's, like, completely brand new story, brand new everything, not connected to comics or movies or any of that, which I'm very anxious about, obviously. And then in September, we have Avengers Assembly #3, which is titled Exchange Students 101, because our favorite Avengers Assembly kids are going to Xavier's School for the Gifted.
Oh,
Cool.
Exchange. That doesn't come across quite well in audio.
The pun gets lost. But yeah, those are the big things. They're all available either to purchase with Women of Marvel or pre-order with the other two. I'm super excited. I hope people read them, but also only tell me if you liked it.
What's your favorite thing about writing Peter Parker?
He's such a disaster, and it's really fun to write like someone who he tries so hard to get it right, and then he doesn't, and he keeps trying. And I think it's the most human part, and I love it so much because I feel like he goes through horrible things, and I'm like, I also go through horrible things.
That's such a mood.
And so, yeah, and then getting to come up with terrible jokes. Like, literally, there's a joke in the second one that I wrote 3 years ago and put in my notes app to be like, if this project ends up happening, I am using this joke at some point. And it's like part of my, they're horrible. They're like dad jokes. They're puns, but I love them so much.
Because Spider-Man's self-consciously, he's conscious of how bad his jokes are, right? That's one
for sure.
thing about him.
For sure. He's
like that.
He's ready. I mean, when I was like teasing the second one, and it's so groan worthy, but I was like, he's gonna get into a spot of trouble.
Do you want us to groan or laugh? I'm not sure. But yeah.
I love it.
Spider-Man. Wait, is he fighting the Spot? I guess I didn't get it.
What do you think?
What do I... Are we breaking news? I don't know.
No, that's out there. I wouldn't have said it if it wasn't already out there because I'd get in trouble.
One of the most ridiculous Spider-Man villains out there, but great.
Oh, he's awesome. He's so fun.
Did you have a question, Dominic?
No.
No, that was it. That was it. The subtext of that question was, Preeti, are you aware your jokes are bad?
That's not what I was trying to say. It's just like the exercise of writing a joke, a Spider-Man joke. You allow yourself to be a little bad or dad.
So I've always wanted to ask you, Preeti, because like you're in the space where like you were a fan who was now given the keys to like write literally your favorite. I know how much Spider-Man means to you. Like, what was that like for you? You know, I think I might have asked you this when you did Ned and Pete's Journal, but like that was still kind of like based on someone else's, you know, IP or like storyline. This is your first time, like, you know, us fans always have like that one story in our brain. Like, you're literally able to turn fan fiction into real stories. Like, what is that like as an author to go from fan to fan? Like, my fan fiction is now like validated. You know what I'm saying?
It's super stressful, right? Because the thing about Spider-Man, and this was true for Peter and Ned's, which it was like, writing Peter and Ned's was so interesting because it was not my Peter Parker. Like, it wasn't. The notes I got back from the studio would be like, MCU Peter wouldn't say this. And I was like, oh, you're right. That the Peter Parker I wanted to be would say this. Like, the Peter Parker I grew up with would say this. And so it's a little stressful when you're like, people are so attached to their own versions of who they see this character as, and mine will not fit in necessarily with everybody's, because not every like authorial version of Peter Parker is the same thing. Like, there will be consistencies, but there are going to be different pieces of him that different authors highlight.
Right.
And so for me, something that I really love, like I was talking about, is his fallibility is really exciting to me. So I really wanted to set it in that time where he's like really not good at being Spider-Man necessarily, and he's really trying to get a handle on it while still doing all of the things that he has to do as a kid, like get a job and like figure out how to help his aunt and like talk to girls and all these things. And so it's like a little nerve-wracking of like, oh, someone's gonna read this and hopefully they'll identify with him, but if he's not in line with who they think he is, they might get upset about it. But other like that, so that anxiety is there, but also the sheer excitement of being like, I am directing a story for this character I love so much. And like, working in IP is fun because even when there's like 60 years, it's the 60th anniversary of Peter Parker, right, this year, there's so much story that can still be told because there's so many pockets of missing time, or there's so many versions of the character that there's like infinite possibilities for who this character can be. And that's awesome, right? So like, as much as I have anxiety about people picking it up and not seeing it, for someone, like, someone's gonna pick this up and be like, that is my Peter Parker, like, this is
right,
the version of him that I love. And I'm thrilled, and I can't wait for that.
I mean, especially it's a middle grade like YA book, right? Like, some 12-year-old kid's going to find
Yeah.
this at the library and read it. And yeah, this is internalized. This is my Peter Parker. That's
And I'm gonna start crying.
the last question. Like, you've written comics, but like you have a comic coming out this week. What is the difference for you in how you approach comics writing versus novel writing?
You know what? Turns out, a fun thing I learned is there's only so many ways you can say shoots a web in the middle of a fight. There's only so many literal words you can use to say that he shot a web from his web shooter without it getting repetitive and still allowing Spider-Man to fight like Spider-Man. Like, I was like, that was so hard writing an
Emitted.
action. Yeah.
Ejected.
Yeah, see?
Then you get close to some weird words.
Some
but yeah.
weirdness. It gets real weird real fast. It gets super, like, describing action sequences for a superhero that is traditionally shown in a visual medium was very interesting. And, like, some of the questions I had to ask, like, there were things about one of the emails I sent my editor was, like, because based on a section I'd written, I had to email her and be like, does Sandman have bones? Like, when he is a man, when he's shaped like a man,
Oh, that's awesome.
or is he like just skin on the outside and sand on the inside? Like, these are like things you had to think of while writing. Whereas in the visual medium with comics, it's literally like, I'm not an artist. So I
Right.
try to allow the artist, like when I'm writing my script, my notes on what the page looks like is very much like, this is my intent with the page. This is what I would like to get across. This is how I see it in my head. You can
Make it awesome.
make it awesome, essentially. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
not that it's easier, because that's also immensely difficult to try to get across what you're
Right.
seeing in your head and talking to another person and be like, this is what I want, this is what I hope that it will do, and hope that they can parse through your words and pick it out, like what's important. But yeah, those are the two things of like, they're just different parts of your brain, I find, of like, I can't just, like, with a comic, I can be like, and then he shoots a web 17 times, and it's fine. Because it's not, no one's reading the word shoots a web 17 times.
Right.
In the book, you're like, okay, he can't shoot his web again. So
You gotta find different ways that Spider-Man can fight than relying on his webs. And
Yeah.
Spider-Man has to be creative in how he fights, so it all works out in the end. Well, Preeti, we are so thrilled that you are here on the podcast and that you have all of your projects coming out. Please, if you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube, get the Women of Marvel comic at your local comic shop right now. It's sitting on the shelves, and pre-order Spider-Man Social Dilemma anywhere you can.
you can find it anywhere. It's available at all bookstores.
We usually end with what's nerd poppin'. It's the thing that we are thrilled about this week, since you are a special guest. What is nerd poppin' for you, Preeti, other than your many appearances on every podcast ever?
Oh my gosh, what is nerd poppin' for me? Because I've read like 8,000 DC comics in the last like 6 months since I accidentally signed up for DC UI and forgot about the free trial and it didn't get canceled. But I'm not even going to talk about anything on DC UI though. I'm going to talk about the Wayne Family Adventures on Webtoon that I'm obsessed with.
Yeah.
They're so cute.
We got bamboozled a couple months ago because
I know,
there was this
I
like
know.
live action adaptation. We were so excited.
I know.
Our boy Yoshi Sudarsa was going to play Nightwing, and it turned out it wasn't official.
It was like a whole mess. But the Webtoon is like super sweet. It's every Thursday. It's like slice of life Bat Fam. Come on.
Honestly, I would love to see an
Yes.
officially licensed live action adaptation
Hard
of that
agree.
series, because we've gotten dark, brooding Batman. I know you haven't seen Pattinson's Batman, but spoiler, it's dark and gritty and super moody. I love it, right? But it would be nice to see
Like,
a Batman
Bat
where he's
Dad.
like, I know people give Ian Glenn a lot of shit on Titans, but I kind of like his version of Bruce
Like,
Wayne.
why not?
Like, he's kind of like a dad, and it's
He's
really
a dad. He's, it's very, I like it. I love Bat Fam. That's all I've been reading is like Bat Fam comics and nothing else.
cool. Brittany, what's nerd poppin'?
This is not necessarily nerdy, but I really, really loved Turning Red. It was so adorable. It's the Pixar movie on Disney Plus. And it takes place in 2002, so it felt very much like, me when I was like 12, gonna be 13, and my friend group, and being obsessed with like NSYNC and, Backstreet Boys, and it was just very cute, and it was definitely, I don't know, it's worth it. And one of the singers for the boy group for town, even though there's 5 of them, is Jordan
Fisher.
And I just love Jordan Fisher. And so it's really great. It's cute. I love, like, and I can't remember the name of the actress, but she's the girl from Never Have I Ever. She voices one of the, like,
yeah,
yes,
she plays
so,
Priya. Yeah,
she's so funny. And then I love the other little girl, the one who, like, she has the best, like, mischievous face. Like, it just, I don't know, it just felt like girls that I grew up with, and it was very sweet and it's very cute, and I highly recommend it. And you don't have to be a preteen girl to.
We
like...
watched it this weekend as well, and I will say that I had a hard time identifying with those characters because they're so Canadian.
Man this up.
They're just so Canadian.
Were you exhausted?
I was exhausted by how Canadian they were. Like,
were you exhausted because you were not in it?
No, because like when the mom says sorry and a boot, it just I could not identify. Anyway,
it wasn't universal.
It wasn't universal.
It was localized Canadian.
One thing I did bump against though is that, like, this is not a criticism of the movie, but I did think, like, so spoiler alert, Mei Lin's family runs a temple that's also a tourist attraction, but it's not like a temple that's like, it's just their family temple. And
that's hilarious.
Like, who's going to see, like, here's my grandmother and my other I just thought that was a little weird.
You can't think of people because I can think of people.
Really?
Who
okay,
would.
maybe
Yes.
that was a thing in the early aughts where Chinese families just opened up their family shrines to the rest of the world. But anyway, that was the only thing I bumped up against. But other than that, it was a very enjoyable Pixar movie that I could not relate to it whatsoever. Dominic, what's nerd poppin'?
Oh, in the Sifu video game, there's a PC mod where you can be Daredevil or Pattinson Batman or John Wick. So if you ever want to do like real close quarters combat, like a fast action martial arts video game experience with those characters, you can do that. That's all. It's pretty cool.
So for me, I watched Drive My Car, which is now streaming on HBO Max. It's from Ryusuke Hamaguchi about a man grieving, and it's similarly 3 hours long. I know a lot of people were like shitting on Batman for being 3 hours long, but Drive My Car is also 3 hours long. And I don't want to shade the director, but I kind of felt the 3 hours in Drive My Car where I didn't feel the 3 hours in Batman.
I have to agree.
Did you see it too?
Yes, because I'm trying to watch all of the nominated movies, and it was one of those movies where like, it's good, it's shot well, but I'm sorry, I don't want to see it again. But shout out to them doing Waiting for Godot, because that is one of my favorite plays. And
yeah,
yeah.
Wow.
I would also, yeah, the premise is the man is also a theater director, and in the beginning they're doing Waiting for Godot, and then like the 2 hours of the movie they're doing like rehearsals for Uncle Vanya.
Uncle Vanya, which is very funny.
Another Chekhov play, but I liked it as well. The thing I wanted to stress though from Drive My Car though is what I found interesting, and it's kind of I feel like we're at a watershed moment for deaf actors, because there is a character in Drive My Car who signs, and the big kind of like emotional ending is completely silent because she's signing on stage.
Yes, that was I think the best part of the movie.
And so in addition to that, in Drive My Car, of course, Coda, that's another film I watched, which I loved. You know, I'm not a child of deaf adults, but like I totally related to those characters in Coda. But that was, you know, and we also had Echo on Hawkeye and Makari in Eternal. So I think we were at like a watershed moment for like deaf representation. And I think the father from Coda is going to win the Best Supporting Actor this year. So like shout out to those actors bringing deaf culture to our big and small screens. So that's cool. That's the thing I want to get out of Drive My Car. Like, I didn't love it. I feel like am I a bad Asian for not loving Drive My Car? But it's definitely worth a watch. I don't know that you would want to go back to it. And just want to shade all the critics who are like shitting on Batman for being 3 hours, and I'm like, Drive My Car could have been 2 hours, and the first hour of it, I love the first hour of it.
What else do we have to do, people?
No,
I don't
hold
get
on.
this 3 hour
Movies
thing.
can be long. Like Bollywood movies are long. They have like, I can remember sitting for 4 hours when I was little and watching like Roop Ki Rani Choro Ka Raja. Like, they're long movies. But you know what we get in Bollywood movies is an intermission.
Right.
There will be, literally the movie will stop and it will say intermission across the screen. So you can go do what you need to do. You don't have to guess when the best time is to leave.
Right.
You know, people shit on the Snyder Cut, but I will say I was very thankful for two things about the Snyder Cut. There were chapter breaks and there was an intermission. And like, that makes the 4 hours go down a lot smoother. You know. But I have heard criticism, and if you're going to make a 4-hour movie, you could also just make it like a show or interesting. You can also make it interesting.
That's my.
Wait, I think that is some Hamaguchi shade, though. But
That was.
I'm sorry. I can watch long movies. I've said I have marathoned the extended versions of Lord of the Rings in one day before. Like, I can sit and watch movies all day as long as they keep me interested. And that movie was good, but
I
it
loved
was
the
not
first
enough to
hour
keep
of
me-
that movie. Like when the credits started rolling, like an hour into the movie, I was like,
was like,
"Holy
what?
shit!"
Yeah, I thought it was over. I was like,
Spoiler
what?
alert! You're watching the movie, and you're an hour into the movie, and then the opening credits roll, and you're like,
Yes.
"That's bold.
hilarious.
That is bold."
Yeah,
You're telling me
was-
like what I just watched was the prologue. Ooh, this gonna be good, and then less so.
I thought it was over, and I was mad because I'm like, it was just getting good, and then it gets too long, and they're like, oh.
Have you seen Coda?
Yes.
Yeah, Coda's great. That's who I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for Coda.
I'm rooting for Dune just because my
well, that's
favorite
right. Dune's
movie of
coming
the
out.
year didn't get nominated.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's also Hard Knock Life. We don't want this to be a 3-hour Hard Knock Life. So
I know. It's going to keep going. Hold on. I have to rant about the Green Knight not being nominated for anything.
I know that was a surprise. Talk about a snub. Dev should have got something. But Preeti, how can people find you on the internet?
I am everywhere. Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, TikTok. I'm laughing because someone today replied to like a post about Women of Marvel to be like, Preeti's on TikTok and has... They said something like, disappointingly few followers.
Oh, no. We
And
got
I
to
was
up
like-
those followers on
I was
TikTok.
like, thanks
got
for
banned.
telling people. Ouch, though. But yeah, so I'm everywhere at Run with Skizzers, Skizzers, and that's definitely the best way to like find out what I'm doing.
Awesome. Brittany.
I am at Hi Brittany Monet on Twitter and Instagram, and then you can check out at Naomi Podcast for my other podcast.
Dominic.
I'm Dominic Ma on Twitter, Instagram at Domma, DOMMAH.
I am on Twitter at The Real Chow, _real_Chow, and on Instagram at Real Keith Chow. At The Nerds of Color on other platforms, go to hardknockmedia.com to find this podcast and all podcasts, including Daisy Geek Girls at hardknockmedia.com. Please subscribe and drop a like and a review. Give us 5 stars, please. I'm not begging, but we need the stars and the reviews so people can find the podcast. Also, go to youtube.com/nerdsofcolor to find the videos that we upload, and go to goalie.com to get 10% off and free shipping from Goalie Nutrition. You can go to go.goalie.com/hardknock or use the code hardknock when you order your gummies. That's all for Hard Knock Life, and until next time.
Expel? Does he expel a web ever, Preeti? Is that a word ever used? Or is that too?
I feel like
Does
that
he
gets-
excrete? Or is that a
expel
bit
would
much?
just, I feel like there's just nothing else you can say from
Potter.
shoot. Yeah.
That sounds like Harry Potter.
And expel is like, it doesn't have the strength to it that like a shoot
It's a
the
tricky
web.
one.
You don't
Yeah,
want to,
right?
and you don't
I
want to
know.
excrete a web because
Nope.
that's already.
You don't
Loaded.
want to do that. No,
Yeah.
thank you. I think I use slings. He slings a web.
And at least it's, a comic Spider-Man that has web shooters, because if this was the Toby Spider-Man,
We're not getting into
it gets
that.
even grosser.
We aren't? Oh,
No,
okay.
thank you. This is all web shooter, Peter. No organic web shooter.